This video is on the black side of the Rossalimo. So anyways, e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, and here I'm suggesting g6. I think that currently theory is saying that e6 is also equalizing, and d6 is probably also doing fine too. But anyways, let's see g6. And I believe that the two main moves here are just castle and bishop takes c6. But it's also possible to play c3 here. And I've seen one grandmaster in particular has played this position with knight f6, queen e2. But I think that if black just develops pretty naturally, I mean, if he just plays bishop g7, d6, and castles, his position should be fine. So let's say bishop g7, castle, castle, and one line is with rook d1. Sort of similar to a Rai Lopez type of handling of this position. But d6, you can also play d5. But anyways, take, and a6. And white having the center here isn't really necessarily any major asset when you look at it, because black has good pressure on the center. So for example, bishop a4, b5, bishop b3, and bishop e7. And if you look at the position, I mean, white has two pawns in the center, but what are they actually doing? What is he actually achieving here? And how does he develop the b1 knight to a good square? And I mean, it's really not so easy to come to the right conclusion about it. So let's say knight bd2, rook c8. Okay, bishop d3 looks pretty natural, and now you can even play knight h5 and knight f1, and queen b6 is possible here, and to meet bishop e3 with knight c4, and so it's even possible for black to just end up better in some lines, like after knight g3, which is probably slightly dubious. Take, and now just a simple move e6, and black has two excellent bishops, and if b3 to try to play bishop e2, knight c6, and knight b4, and black just plays rook c7 and rook fc8. You have to play a3 right away probably, or else he'll play rook fc8 and knight c2. So a3, knight c6, and I think black just follows up with rook fc8 with an excellent position. White has no real threats in that type of structure. So anyways, I'll go back to the beginning position on move 4, and the other main line, which needs some coverage, is besides bishop takes c6 is castle. So castle, bishop g7, and there are two moves that I look at here. Rook e1. Rook e1 allows the pretty solid setup with e5, and now after bishop takes c6, I almost always like to take with the d pawn, and now the c8 bishop is free to go to g4 or wherever else. So d3 and now bishop g4. Knight bd2, and the simplest setup in my opinion is just to play the position solidly with f6 and knight h6, queen e7, knight f7. I think that that by playing bishop g4, it's actually not really necessary to take on f3, and the reason is simply because you've provoked white into wasting time with knight bd2. So for example, f6, if you play h3, then maybe it would just play bishop e6, but it's also possible to take. So knight c4 and one line is b6. If bishop e3, I would just play knight h6. A3, knight h6, b4, which is a common plan. But I think if you just take and then just play normal moves, the position isn't really that difficult to play. So castle and h3, and now just bishop e6, bishop e3, which is interesting, and now just queen e7, queen d2, and knight f7. And I think after something like rook a d8, rook d7, something like that, black doesn't really have any weaknesses, and maybe even hypothetically he could play at some point he could play f5 if he wanted to, or he could play knight d6, or just double rooks there. But nevertheless, I don't think black has any problems in this sort of position. So I'll go back before rook e1. The other main move, the main move here, I think, is c3. And after knight f6, there are a couple moves here. There's d4. d4 was recently played by Vacher-Lagrave. And after knight takes d5, knight d6, hitting the b5 bishop, he played bishop d3. And his opponent played knight e5, which is a line I don't really like that much. But I think that knight a5 is the best line. And it was played by Anand, I think, in 1994. And if bishop f4, castle, bishop e5, this occurred in the Anand game. And now I think if you just take and play b5, that it's not really so easy to prove full compensation for white. For example, b4 taken, now you can just go to c4. And black would probably just be up a pawn. So b4 is probably a mistake, and white would have to try to find something. But anyways, even if you just play some typical moves to add some pressure, like rook e1, castle, knight a3, here again you can play c4 and b5. And if bishop f4 to try to win the b5 pawn, you can just play knight a b7, which consolidates that knight. And basically black is preparing to unravel his pieces. And again, it's difficult to prove that there's full compensation here. I'm not really convinced of it. But rook e1 is another line, castle. And one of the problems with this sort of position is that any way of trying to brutally play the position with d4 is usually met by very concrete play. So let's see the sideline, h3, e5, and now there are two moves that have been played here at least by guys over 2,500 that I've seen. And a3 was played by Nigel Short, and d4 has been played before. But let's see d4 first. So d4, and now you can just play take, take, and d5. Very direct play. And if bishop takes c6, takes, take, and now knight takes e4. And if knight takes c6, you have queen b6 with extremely active play. And I think black is already equalizing here. And so I've seen d takes e5, knight takes e4, and I also think black is completely equalizing here. For example, knight c3, bishop e6, and let's see, bishop f4, take, take, queen a5, and black already has an excellent position again. If queen b3, then rook a c8, and black again has excellent piece play. So I can go back. And it appears that black just plays very actively when white plays d4. And the line with a3 is also pretty concrete. You can just play a6, and if bishop takes c6, I like the novelty b takes c6. Previously, d takes c6